In today's You Ask, I Answer, Nick asks, what business messenger or collaboration tool do you use? What feature functionality is most valuable to you? That's a great question. I actually use 4 different business messaging tools. Slack for my company and for many others. I participate in probably 15 or 16 different Slack instances on a day-to-day basis. Most of them, my company. Watson Workspace, which is IBM's take on Slack for my work with IBM. LinkedIn Messages for outreach, specifically for prospect outreach. In fact, Nick actually asked me this question on LinkedIn. And Facebook Messenger is a last resort, particularly for people who I have developed a business relationship with, because it's easy to message them and know that your message got there. It's circumvented the corporate firewalls and the spam buckets and things like that. Now, in terms of usage, in terms of what I do, I spend the vast majority of my time in Slack. Having everyone in the same place and deep integration is essential. That's really where I find that Slack does a better job than the competitors that are out there. I've wired my CRM to Slack. I've wired my marketing automation to Slack. My e-commerce gateways are wired to Slack. Brand24, my media monitoring service, is integrated into Slack. So what that means is that because it's a messaging service, it's effectively sending notifications in one place where I can see them, and not like overwhelmingly cluttering my screen with pop-ups and bells and whistles and stuff. I have channels set up for my different types of notifications, and everything has its place in a nice, neat, orderly structure. So every time you fill out a form on one of my sites, I see it as a notification in a channel on Slack. It's a little form fill, which is it has all the contents of the form fill. I can see who did what when you subscribe to the newsletter. I see that in Slack. When you make a purchase digitally, I see it in Slack. My payment gateway system is tied to Slack. So when you buy a book or when you purchase a table for 4 consultation from Brain Trust Insights, I see that right in Slack. I run HubSpot's Growth Bot in Slack, which is an essential tool for mining data about customers and prospective customers. One of my favorites. Dharmesh Shah created it, where you have a little bot in Slack and you chat with it and you say, GrowthBot, tell me about CNN.com. It'll tell you all the data that it knows, like the annual revenue, number of employees, things like that. Super helpful for having that little bit of business intelligence right inside the Workspace tool that you're in anyways. When you message me, or when you mention me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and blogs, news articles, for which I thank you very much for the people who are constantly mentioning the work that I do with Brain Trust Insights. I see it in Slack. Brand24 just pops a little notification in our coverage channel, and hey, here's another article about this, or you were mentioned in this article and stuff, which is really terrific. When Slack made its new integrations that allow applications to push to it more easily, it now works with the article archiving service I use. I use Pocket and I use Feedly. And so when someone shares a link in Slack, I can save that straight to my Pocket, which is really important because I use Pocket as a repository for all the links that I read or scan or check out during the week. And that makes it, of course, into my newsletter on the weekend. So having those links, being able to participate in all these different Slack communities and start feeding interesting articles in is yet another way where I can streamline the newsletter creation process while still maintaining high quality, because obviously I try not to participate in conversations with people who are not smarter than I am. And so all the Slacks that I participate in, fantastic that there's so many talented, smart people, experts in what they do, and when they share a piece of content, sure enough, make sure I read it and consume it and save it for later, and then share it into my newsletter for everyone else to benefit from that expertise as well. Watson Workspace is an interesting take on Slack. It's IBM's sort of collaboration space, and it brings the power of Watson's AI to a Slack-like environment. You may have just seen the news. Watson won a debate, or held its own in a conversational debate. But as with so many Slack competitors, if the environment doesn't have all those dozens or hundreds of integrations to all these third-party systems, I don't see transitioning out of Slack anytime soon unless they do something egregious with their product. Because, like so many other software ecosystems, it's the application platform, the third-party platform that matters the most. It's why Apple's iOS system is still such a strategic advantage for the platform. I mean, think about it. The iPhone is not like some magical piece of hardware that's substantially better than every single other smartphone out there. There's some cool features, but from a hardware perspective, it's no different than an Android phone from Samsung or HTC or whatever. What makes it different is the ecosystem, the lock-in that a vendor creates by saying, like, yeah, you bought all these apps. If you leave the system, you spend all that money for nothing. And yeah, so a lot of them are free apps, and you can find equivalents on other platforms. But there's a reason why it works like that. Just like when people bought Windows, the operating system, has all these applications that are not available for on the Mac or Linux or other systems. And so it's that lock-in. That's what Slack has successfully done, I think, better than any of the other collaboration tools, is really nailed. Hey, we're going to let every system connect with us, and we're going to put a huge pile of connectors out there. And other vendors, because they see the adoption and the uptake, have built their integrations to Slack, and it makes it so difficult to leave. Like, in my personal website, I've got all my web forms now with, I use Gravity Forms, a WordPress plugin that connects right to Slack. I would have to go in and rewire dozens of forms on my website in order to migrate from Slack, and that's only if Gravity Forms provided an integration into a Watson Workspace or HipChat or any of these other vendors, which I don't see them doing anytime soon. They've gone with the market leader. And that convenience of being able to have my stuff one-click install on my WordPress website and boom, go right into Slack, go right into all these different places is really helpful. So features and functionality is less important than application ecosystem and platform development. It is, from a software perspective, the ability for us to add in lots and lots of extensions and add-ons and packages and plugins and things to make every environment just like we want it. There's no software developer that can put every single feature imaginable in a product, and you probably don't want to. I mean, if you look around at Microsoft Word, look how many features are in that nobody uses, right? There's like one law firm that uses that very specific little feature, and that's it. Now, granted, they're probably a very good customer, but nobody else uses that one tiny little weird annotation feature. And so by having that robust third-party environment, everybody can build essentially their own Slack with the base platform and then all the add-ins that go into it. And that's true for all these software companies, for all these software platforms. The most successful ones embrace the third-party ecosystem and don't try to do everything out of the box themselves. If you are marketing your own stuff, think about that from that perspective. What do you bring to the table? What's your core offering? And then how extensible is your offering to other things? And it's not just software. Even something like a kitchen mixer. Look at the KitchenAid line. Part of the reason their mixers are so successful is because you can pretty much attach like a lawnmower to the thing and make it work. So think about that extensibility as a core feature in your own marketing. Great question, Nick. Hope the answer was helpful to you as you embark on your own messaging and collaboration adventures. As always, if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comments here or the link below. And please subscribe to the newsletter and the YouTube channel. Talk to you soon. Take care. If you want help with your company's data and analytics, visit braintrustinsights.com today and let us know how we can help you.